Okay, and it is 12:30 on the dot. Hello, everyone. Hello, Christelle. Hello, Francesca. Hello, Shazad. Hello, Alex. So, hello and welcome to Lunch Break with GABC. I'm your host, Ashley Mateos, coming to you live from the Carl-Schurz-Haus. For those of you who don't know, the Carl-Schurz-Haus is the German-American Institute in Freiburg, Germany. We offer a diverse cultural program, English language courses for all ages, and we also have a vibrant all-English library. We are a nonprofit institute supported in part by our members. The main goal of the Carl-Schurz-Haus is to facilitate transatlantic discourses across all areas ranging from literature to politics to business. In addition to coordinating the English language courses for adults at the Carl-Schurz-Haus and in companies, I'm also head of our German-American business community, or GABC. We provide events centered around transatlantic business relations, professional development, and networking. I would like to take this time to thank you for choosing to spend your lunch break with us. Here with me today is Vira Mistry and Kim-André Vives of SÜDVERS GmbH, one of our GABC company members. Also with us today is my assistant, Hannah, who will be dropping some useful links into the chat for those of you viewing via Zoom. We will upload these links to the YouTube recording later for anyone viewing via YouTube. We're going to first hear from Vira, who's going to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Then we're going to chat with Kim-André about the importance of the US from an insurance standpoint. Please feel free to post any questions in the chat for Vira, Kim-André, or for myself, and we will do our best to answer them. All right, so let's start with Vira. Vira Mistry is a development professional and intersectional feminist from India. She works as a youth participation advisor at SOS Children's Villages based in Innsbruck, Austria. She has her MA in Development Studies from the International Institute of Social Sciences in The Hague and a second master's in International Relations and Global Governance from Ramon Llull University in Barcelona. She's also a member of Young Feminist Europe. Her work focuses on social justice, gender, and youth development. She's here today to talk to us about DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, Vera, I'm going to pass the reins over to you, and you can take it away.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm going to share my screen. So please let me know if once you can see it. So all good? Yep. All right. So so diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, is kind of a big buzzword topic right now in the corporate world, in the NGO space. So just to start, I kind of want to break down what each of the words mean, so we have a better understanding of how encompassing kind of the entire practice is. So first, diversity. So diversity is about representing people from different backgrounds, and this could be religion, it could be race, it could be gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, nationality, and even educational backgrounds. And so the idea is that each person kind of brings in their own unique perspectives and experiences, which then enrich your workforce. Then equity is to ensure that everyone has access to the same opportunities. It is recognizing that people face different kinds of barriers and challenges in accessing educational opportunities or internships, or even extracurriculars that might enhance their CV, for example, and kind of keeping that in mind when you hire people or when people face challenges in the workspace. So to understand how do you navigate between different backgrounds and different lives, and also create an equitable environment for everyone. So their unique backgrounds are taken into perspective when running meetings or when handing out tasks. And then finally, inclusion, which is a lot of the time mixed up with diversity, is actually being conscious about making people feel valued and accepted in the workspace. So are you allowing people to be heard? Are you allowing people to voice their opinions? Do people feel comfortable in raising their opinions? So really making the environment inclusive. So what we say is that it's not really just about diversity in the workspace, but are you really creating spaces for equity and inclusion in your workspace? Because a lot of the times a workspace can be diverse, but those people can still not be heard. So that's just a little bit about how we kind of understand these different terms. So at its core, really DEI is looking at proactive educational initiatives in your organization. It is also looking at how policies can support these initiatives. And then finally, what day-to-day practices do you do that can enhance diversity, inclusion, and equity in your workplace? So I will just go through a few examples. So some of the ways in which we can, let's say, create more educational opportunities is by strengthening HR hiring practices. So working with your HR teams to see what are kind of the barriers and the common gaps that they find in how they evaluate their CVs, for example. It's having trainings on intercultural communication. And it is also increasing in inclusive leadership program. A lot of the times organizations and companies will have diversity and inclusion practices, but reaching managerial positions or upper management remains to be mostly white, and it's harder for people of color or from diverse backgrounds to access these positions. And so it's being very cognizant of the fact that you can, when we talk about inclusion and diversity, we're seeing it at all levels of your company organization. In terms of having policies. So an active DEI policy is kind of very important. It also should be co-created with the diverse population of your workforce. Additionally, a sexual harassment policy, especially now, is very important. And then also having transparent reporting and response mechanisms. So having kind of a very a mechanism in which all your employees kind of know how to report and what is expected after that. And then finally, in terms of day-to-day practices, we can do smaller things. It could be using inclusive language. It could also be asking for pronouns or adding pronouns to emails, as well as thinking about whether you have wheelchair accessibility or gender-neutral bathrooms in your organization or company. And so now I just want to go through a little bit of a step-by-step of how, if you are thinking of creating DEI policy or working on DEI initiatives, how you can set that up. So it would first start with working on a DEI working group. So setting up a task group, which of course represents the diversity of your organization. So including people from different backgrounds to understand what the needs of the organization are. It would mean to also reach out to external experts and consultants to guide you in the process. So one of the organizations I really like to follow in Germany especially is the Center for Intersectional Justice, and it's based in Berlin. And they do really some amazing work around race and gender and looking at justice work. And they also work on DEI and concepts around how to increase intersectionality and intersectional practices in your work. And then finally, it would be also to understand the demographics of your organization. So I would stay away from kind of creating quotas, because that can actually hinder actual effective DEI work, but really understanding who in your organization and the backgrounds of your organization. So really looking at that. And then finally, we can look at, once we look at the demographics, it would also look at conducting an anonymous assessment, asking your staff members what their experiences are when it comes to diversity and inclusion, and how the workplace has handled it so far. And here you can also identify the gaps that emerge and what is working, what are some of the best practices that we see, So you can understand what kind of strategies you can come up with. So this could be strategies that address educational initiatives, the policies, as well as implementing day-to-day practices that you can then implement in your organization. And finally, of course, it is the implementation, but also the monitoring and evaluation of the success of your practices. So I would say over the one year time to see how well the trainings or the policies have been in maybe reducing the rates of exclusion within your workspace or microaggressions. It could, and then that way, then you can understand how far you've come. So these are just a couple of quick ways in which you can increase diversity and inclusion in your workspace. I hope they have been useful. And of course, I'm open to any questions that I can answer for you now, as well as you can contact me later as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Vera. I did receive a question earlier from somebody who is working for a very small startup. And so they don't have an HR department or anybody who would be facilitating this. And I think that your suggestion for having these working groups, that might be actually a way to actually start getting these processes involved when you don't have a department that is geared towards that. Yeah. Francesca says really valuable information. Thank you. And I do know that we have a lot of coaches and consultants that are also working for themselves. Do you know how somebody could do, how somebody would be able to implement this in the practice that they're offering as an individual practitioner, meaning to let them know, let their clientele know that they are open to a diverse range of clients that they can feel, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. I think that especially like startups or entrepreneurs are kind of in a great position to do this because they don't have the red tape and the bureaucracy and kind of the history bigger organizations have that could limit diversity and inclusion work. And so when they start off, it really could be about like the working group is a good way to start talking about it. And yeah, a lot of organizations also, use it as put it as their signature, talking about inclusivity. And, I've seen organizations and companies do like Black Lives Matter, for example, or take Black History Month or Women's History Month and kind of use that as a way to also show that they're being very actively aware of diversity and inclusion practices and encouraging that in their workspace. So it could be in terms of like reaching out to clientele and showing that you are you're looking at DEI. It could be these smaller things of how can you leverage bigger events to kind of show that you are also thinking about it.
Right. Great. Thank you so much. If you have further questions for Vera, feel free to get in touch with her via LinkedIn, or I'm sure I would happily connect you as well personally. Thank you so much again, Vera. We're going to shift gears now, and I would like to introduce Kim-André Vives, Head of International at SÜDVERS GmbH. SÜDVERS is an efficient and powerful international insurance broker, risk manager, and financial service provider. They're trusted by businesses of all different sizes and sectors, ranging from very small family-led businesses to billion turnover companies with over 100 different entities. SÜDVERS has over 500 employees in 18 different offices, and they're able to operate and advise their clients in over 110 countries. Today, we're going to gain a little more insight, not only about SÜDVERS, but also about the US and why insurance matters. Kim-André is here with us today, and he's actually worked for SÜDVERS for over 18 years now, if I'm correct. Yeah. First as a broker and now as head of the Freiburg branch. So maybe first you can start with telling us a little bit more about SÜDVERS and what your role entails there.
Yeah, thank you. First, thank you that we get the chance to talk a bit about our company and especially about the relation to the US. Well, you described it very, very good. We are let's say, fully equipped insurance broker on a global level. So in short, we provide international insurances that we call international programs. So typically talking to the German headquarters and then helping also to see the whole insurance package globally, as well as we have a lot of business receiving, especially from the US, that we are servicing the daughter company in Germany and the headquarters in the US. So we call it incoming, outgoing. So we are experienced over 35 years in both ways and both sides of the business. That includes risk management, which means before we start talking about insurance, we talk about prevention. What is let's say, what is the possibility for a company to avoid a claim, to avoid a damage, to avoid insurance, and then we start talking about insurance. We have an own credit insurance broker, Kreditversicherung, surety bonds. That's a pretty difference. For example, in the US, in Germany, we talk about a Bürgschaft, and in the US, we talk about surety bonds. That's looks like the same, but it's pretty different. So we do that on a global basis. So credit management, including also employee benefits services. So we also taking care of the staff. If that is let's say a wish of the client, that we providing employee benefit services, and we have a special unit for the professional lines. That means even if it's a family-owned company, we talk to the owner, or it's a listed company, we talk to the board. They have special needs and also a special liability in their function. So we try to cover all of that. Not only out of Freiburg, that's the headquarter in Freiburg where we based with the headquarter, but we have different locations around Germany, also in Austria and Switzerland, and also now we are looking to the US.
Okay, right. And then that's also kind of the focus of today as well, because SÜDVERS has such a broad broker network. But why would you say the US is so important from an insurance standpoint?
Well, I think I can speak for the insurance only, but I'm traveling and working with the US, let's say almost 20 years now, and I think it's the same with other topics, but especially when it comes to insurance, the United States is something special. Yeah, we always talk about a possible higher exposure, a higher risk, and higher claims over there, higher prices, higher costs. So when it comes to insurance, many people say, oh, well, you are just one line in our balance sheet, which is a cost factor. And we don't want to feel insurance every day. So it's just costs. And for the US, especially, the costs are a bit different than in Germany. That's one point. And on the other hand, even if you have an international program, out of the technique of an international insurance program, even if it's for the liability or for the property, the US is always something which has to be quoted locally. We call it a local US submission. And it's some insurance topics or insurance policies need to be placed locally with a special requirements, with special technique, and others are, let's say, very important that they are connected and coordinated through Germany. So the whole insurance world is a bit more, it's broader, and I think technically wise, a lot of differences. Yeah, just an example: we have in Germany the Deutsche Berufsgenossenschaft for the workers' compensation, the Arbeiterunfallversicherung. So that's a state issue. So we don't have insurance like an insurance policy or a market. It goes back to Bismarck back in 1899 when he started the social security system in Germany. In the US, a workers' compensation is an insurance. So there is a market, different players. And so we always explain the Americans and the other way around the differences on the social security system, which also has an impact on insurance. So that's just a couple of examples where we face every day, and it's just important to understand both sides. For example, that was just my last trip to the US in December, and I met a lot of people with the title Chief Diversity Manager. And I didn't saw that here in Germany a lot, but it's on larger companies. It's already a position, a function, and so there are many differences also related to insurance.
That's right, very, very true. And so SÜDVERS actually has a broker network in the US that's going to be live very soon, right?
Exactly. Well, we founded an own insurance broker network back in '87, where our owner Manfred Kahle really had the vision that with opening of the European market and the globalization, and especially the fact that we are a producing country. Germany is an exporting country. We had the vision to say, okay, we need to help our clients. We need to support our clients when they go abroad, when they open a small sales office, but also when they build up a plant in India or in Alpharetta, America. So we founded that network that we still, let's say, we don't own the net. We not, let's say, own the network, but we coordinate and founded this so we can help every company in Germany when they go abroad, even if they go to Africa or to Australia or the US. And for Switzerland, we have our own brokerage. Austria, we have big shares in SÜDVERS GmbH, it's called, and we decided to found an own brokerage in the US. So that will be a SÜDVERS company in the US, especially due to the, let's say, daily communication, daily topics have with the US. We founded an own brokerage there.
Okay. Well, it sounds like this is an important factor for any company, small or large, that's looking to enter into international markets, especially when exporting products and having to consider all the insurances that they may need. So between the US and Germany, I think cooperation is so important, right? And we need to understand each other. You need to understand how business works, how the legalese works over there as well, because we have quite different, well, there are of course some similarities, but there are very important differences that I guess an insurance broker would be able to point out for you.
Absolutely. And I think that the added value we can bring to German companies and also to American companies when they come over to Germany is that we try to bundle the knowledge, and we try to explain a lot. So when it comes to the US, let's say you need to explain a lot to your client because it's just a different insurance world. And that's why in this case, even if we have, let's say, brokers around the world who can help us, but for the last 35 years, we had a lot of experience, a lot of traffic with US clients. And that at that moment, we decided last couple years, maybe it's good to have our own foot on the ground to explain also from a European side. And so that's why we really see we are closer to the client. For sure, it's a market where you can do business. That's the one point. But for the other hand, even if it's a small startup, we had a lot of communication and a lot of support we gave to the German American Chamber of Commerce, because also startups at some point, it comes when it comes to a product, at some point it comes to the product liability. So at some point, everybody's asking about insurance. What about the insurance for the product? What about insurance for myself and for the company? Before they even starting getting a building or stock, they will need to do that information. And our experience is we are closer now with an own company. We can really, let's say, get the benefits from the US, but also giving our benefits there. That's why we also will, in the future, we will send expats there. We have European people, which is, I think, a key for us, because an American broker is an American broker, but as the world is fully different in Germany, we also need the connecting thing, between them, and that's what we try to bring to our clients when we have the own footprint there.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I also wanted to ask, since you work with a lot of international clients, have you personally, or has SÜDVERS had any obstacles considering intercultural communication or intercultural competence that you were able to overcome? Maybe I think that's something that our audience would also benefit from.
Well, I just touched it in my comment before, and that's interesting. We are, let's say, we're helping our clients to get the right insurance and also to get the right transparency on the costs. Not paying too much. That's one of the most important things, especially for startups when they start with an insurance package and then they grow. So also they need to get professional service from their tax advisors, from their lawyers, and also from insurance. So this will grow, and then we have a lot of success there. But to be honest, the key thing for us was that we have an European person there. So this person, and he will also be taking a role. I will be the CEO in the US, and he will be the COO. and he has a fully American team behind. That's fully fine, but we decided we need a guy on the ground who understands the German, the European view, and explain that every day. So I think that the European person in the US, living in the US and he has a US wife and a US studies and but he really understands Europe and Germany. I think that was the key, and bring them together. I think that is the success and will be in the future.
I see. Well, I think that sounds like a great opportunity for this person, also for SÜDVERS and for you as well, that you're able to establish this and you have somebody who knows how you operate, then implemented and put into a different culture, a different place, a different working field and economy as well. And then they see how it works there, and then they're able to connect those two. So you kind of have this person as your bridge then between the two cultures.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Kim-André.
Pleasure.
I'm happy to hear more about SÜDVERS, and perhaps in the future, if some of our members or viewers are interested in learning more about insurances, we could also have a bit of an event happening where you can learn a little bit more about what your company could benefit from. Yeah,
and we offer that to the audience. If there are special topics where you're really interested in, reach out to the Carl-Schurz-Haus, to the organization. We're glad to help if we can bring added value.
Fantastic, thanks. So if anybody would like to learn more about SÜDVERS or speak with an advisor, I encourage you to visit their webpage, or definitely get in touch with us, and we're happy to connect. You can also see other GABC member updates on our LinkedIn showcase page. And on that note, I would like to bring up the subject of membership. If you're looking to broaden your network while supporting your local German-American Institute, I encourage you to become a member with us. As a nonprofit organization, the Carl-Schurz-Haus relies on the support of our local and virtual members. If you aren't a member yet and are interested in becoming one, please visit our website, or you can also send me an email. The Carl-Schurz-Haus cultural programming calendar in February features a variety of events about and in support of Black history, ranging from Black health to BPOC in public service, so Black and people of color in public service, to the representation of Black people in Yiddish culture. You can check out the Carl-Schurz-Haus website for more information about those. As far as the GABC goes, as well as our business events, we do have a couple of things lined up for March. On March 9th, we are having our annual Women's Business Networking event. On March 16th, we have a Design Your Year event happening with Francesca Carlin, who is one of our participants today. Thanks for joining us. And on March 30th is our next English-speaking entrepreneurs meeting. We also have business English courses, both online and in person, for anyone out there looking to improve their English skills. If you miss an event, be sure to check out our YouTube page for recordings, and to stay informed, you can follow us on LinkedIn or sign up for our newsletter. If you like what we do, we encourage you to show your support via social media likes, shares, becoming a member, and/or donations. I would once again like to thank my guest, Vira. Thank you so much for joining us and enlightening us to a little bit more about DEI. And Kim-André, thank you for telling us all about SÜDVERS and its ventures into the US. It's been highly informative, and we did it in less than 30 minutes. Thank you to all of our viewers and our listeners for learning while you lunch. The next lunch break will be on May 4th, so save the date. I hope to see you again, either online or in person at the Carl-Schurz-Haus. Enjoy the rest of your lunch break, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and hope to see you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.